So the show closed, and a bunch of helpful Vikings came by to help tear apart the set. And the wood they left behind bears the battle scars. Every board packed with screws and staples, waiting to get cleaned. I'm going to walk you through how I clean all the lumber, because when I build the next set, I don't want to accidentally saw through a screw or run my hand across a broken staple. My tool loadout for this job is a set of vice grips, my screw gun, a hammer, the tack puller, the end nippers, a nail set, and the needle nose pliers. So first up, the staples. I use a tack puller to lift up the staples. If it doesn't pop out automatically, I'll use the needle nose pliers to pull it out of the wood. Now occasionally a staple will break off into the wood, leaving its leg behind, and also leaving a very sharp point sticking out of the wood. So I'll grab my box cutter. Oh, you'll need a box cutter too. And carve down a little bit to expose the top of the staple. And then use the needle nose pliers to pull it out. For the narrow crown staples, I'll use the end nippers to hold on to the end of the staple, but not too much to cut through the staple. Rock the staple out. If you do cut through the staple, now you're pulling each leg out individually. For the staples that are flush with the top of the wood, I'll use the tack puller to pry them up a little bit, and then use the end nippers to rock them out. For the screws stuck in the lumber, I'll give them a tap with a hammer straight in line with the screw. This also works for nails. And by tap, I might mean hammer pretty hard. Once the screw is sticking up, it just might easily unscrew. Or I can use a hammer and pry it out. Or if it's really stuck, or the head is stripped, I'll use the vice grips. Now, some Viking broke off a screw, and that head of the screw is pretty deep. So I'm going to use a nail set and a hammer and force the screw out the other side. And from there, it's sticking up enough that I can get underneath it with the claws of the hammer. Now this screw is just broken off. There's nothing sticking up, and I can't use the nail set to come at it from the other side. So the best thing is to just cut it off. I don't know how much is in there, but our biggest screw is 3 inches. So I'll cut more than 3 inches off the end. And I don't want to see that board again. If you happen to bend a screw or come across a bent screw, I find it best not to break the screw. Instead, keep hammering in line with the screw until something pokes out the other side. And because it's bent, the hammer probably won't pull it out. And a screw gun will just give you problems. So go grab the vice grips. Now, if you have a bolt stuck in a board, you don't want to hammer the end because you'll damage the threads.
Don't hit it with a hammer.
So what I do is grab a nut and thread it back on the end of the bolt. And I can hit the nut and it will drive the bolt out. The nut comes off, the bolt comes out, and the threads are intact. A rubber mallet also works, but I think it's somewhere over in the paint department. If you find that you're struggling, not having enough leverage to pull something out, just put another board under your hammer and things will pull out easier. And finally, if the hammer claw can't get purchased on something small, that's why you got the vice grips. Now that you've seen how to remove all the leftover hardware from your lumber, you're ready to safely reclaim and reuse those pieces in your next build. And remember, a clean strike means better materials for your next show. If you found this helpful, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe and drop any questions in the comments. Now I gotta go find that rubber mallet.